So we're recording and live.
Hello, this is the Newburyport Community Preservation Committee. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to take a roll call of attendance of the members. First off, Mark Rosen, Don Walters, Chuck Griffin,
Present.
Tom O'Brien, Joe Morgan,
Here.
Texera,
Here.
Jamie Gagnon,
Here.
Jane Healy,
Here.
Don Walters.
Here.
Okay. Anybody I didn't call that is here now that wasn't before? Nope. Okay. Good. Welcome, everyone, and especially welcome Jamie as our newest member. This is his first meeting, and I haven't had an opportunity to speak with him generally and get him a little pre-oriented, but just to review for those of us returning and for Jamie, we have the agenda in front of us, and we will also be talking about how we're going to review the docket of applications that we have. And as in years past, on two different dates, we'll have scheduled the applicants to come in and give us a short talk on their application and answer questions from the committee and any questions or comments that we get from members of the public then in attendance. After we've completed both of those two meetings, we'll meet a third time and begin the deliberations among the committee members, also in a public forum, about which applications that may be recommended for funding and in what amounts. And then once we get a consensus on that list and the amounts, we will send a proposed order over to City Council for its consideration. The first order of business on the agenda is something we do annually, which is the election of a chair and a vice chair for the committee. Excuse me. I apologize in advance. That may happen frequently as I'm still plagued by this nasty cold I've had for a week. Generally, the way we do this is I'll just open the floor for anyone who would like to nominate for each of these positions. I'll start first with the vice chair and open the floor, and I'd like to take nominations for names to be put in nomination for vice chair for the next year.
Well, I'd like to nominate Jane Healy for vice chair.
Thank you, Chuck. Any other nominations? Okay. Then I guess it's an easy vote. We can do it by voice vote. All those in favor of Jane Healy for continuing as vice chair, please say yes.
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 Congratulations, Jane. Okay.
Thanks, all, I think.
Yeah, I know. Next, I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of chair for the next year. Any nominations?
How about you, Mike? It's Don Walters.
Okay, thank you, Don. My name has been put in as for the position of chair. Are there any other nominations? And I'm not down on one knee, so, you know. Okay. Mike Doucette as chair. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Note of confidence. I like that. Okay, continuing. Jamie, have you come up with, or do you have any questions just in general about the review process and how it might look once we get applications and applicants in the room, and then thereafter when we just sit together and talk about the applications?
Yeah, I think I do have some questions, but I wouldn't want to, bore the other members with the details. I appreciate the question. I think I can kind of follow along as we go, and kind of just look forward to taking part in the conversations and the deliberations. Important work gets done by this committee with important projects funded. So I just look forward to getting involved. I wouldn't want to take any time of the committee going through the process. I think we can kind of learn as we go.
Okay, well, keep in mind that offer to ask the question is always open, even during the processes from anyone. And there are no bad questions. So
I will reserve that right.
okay. Okay, everybody has gotten the materials that Caitlin sent around. And so we see a rich, full docket that is before us, but we also see, if you took a glance at the amended budget that we're looking at, that for at least this cycle, we've got resources that can meet all the asks if we find them otherwise eligible and deserving, which is a nice place to be.
Hey, Mike, I have, when you think it's superb, I have several questions on these line items, and perhaps it's just to remind me on what some of those line items mean, and perhaps it will help Jamie out too, but I may be the only person.
Are you talking about the budget?
I am. I didn't know
Okay.
whether you wanted to do that first or whatever
No,
you want
that's
to do.
fine,
Mike.
because that's pretty much the most important thing we have to understand, know what we're dealing with. So yeah, you shoot, Don, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mike. So my first question, I'll just go from top to bottom. The estimated, it says estimated FY24 local surcharge revenue. Is it estimated because we don't have the 24-year tax assessment yet? There's probably an expectation that will be, I don't know, 1.5%, 2% greater than FY23. I'm just kind of curious, what the word estimated. I know what the word estimated means, but in this context, what does it mean? And then
we don't
what
know
was the
that. Yeah,
derivation
we don't know
of
that
number.
Right. We don't know that number until the end of the fiscal year, when we've actually got the tax collected and the surcharge collected. But what I believe is Ethan does is he uses the previous year as a benchmark. So carries that forward. And so that's the estimate that we'll see again, that amount, although the actual amount will be plugged in once the end of the fiscal year is collections are completed.
And Mike, to that point, I know you use the word collections again and again. So I'm getting too granular. I'm happy to take this offline. So the word is collections versus the assessment. So to the extent, as a hypothetical, there's 2 or 3% that are not collected, they're in arrears, whatever, then that number would be reduced. Say someone assumed 1%, uncollectible and it was 3%, then that number would be reduced.
I
that-
believe so. I believe we're talking about, we don't anticipate spending a dollar that hasn't been brought in to the city
Okay.
coffers yet. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then my next question on the next one is estimate FY24 state match. And then I noticed, as Caitlin sent us another email in there, she mentions to me that the FY23, we had some additional amount of $84,000 and change. So there we're talking about FY23 and this is FY24. So this really, again, that is estimated fiscal year 24. I just want to be sure that's an estimate number. That's not a real number of taking the FY24 plus the FY23 state match of additional cover estimate, because we'd be adding apples and oranges, I presume.
Right. The top one, the estimated state match.
Right.
We use a estimated number based upon last year of what we can reasonably expect to get in a match, which was roughly around 30%. We do not anticipate, for purposes of this number at the top there, that 326, that next fall we would get another kick upward like we
Right.
have this past fall.
Correct.
So this 84,000 is in the bank that went
Correct.
down there FY23.
Sure.
That's as a result of annual legislation that pulls out of the state surplus once it's approved by the legislature and applies some amount of money into the community preservation trust fund at the state level. It was
Right.
$20 million last year, and that wasn't actually finally approved and done until late November, I believe.
Sure.
So that's why it comes in late. It comes in as a kicker at the end,
Mhm.
and it's nice because then we ended up with close to 38% match
Right.
for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Remind me again, what is the unallocated FY23 funds, Mike? Is that for the bonds that weren't issued, or what were they for again? The next
So
one,
that
then the
was
next one.
that
the
was yeah
FY
that was money that remained in the account that we didn't recommend for appropriation on any project.
Okay, and then the FY22 revenue turnback?
Caitlin, how is that labeled? Looks like
The fiscal year 22 revenue turnback right here.
yeah.
Yes,
Is that
please.
is that how is that different from the unallocated 23?
I'll have to, I'll have to get some clarification on that. I believe we had an exchange with Ethan about that. I'll have to review my emails and I can send a note out about that.
Thank you.
Ethan includes a note here that says higher than estimated revenue.
Okay, and then,
Okay.
and the project closeouts, I'm assuming what that is, folks, is that so some of the projects are closed out, there was extra money that they had left over and they turned it back to us, so they didn't
Correct.
go over budget, they were under, or at least with respect to our allocation, and they returned it to us, right?
Correct.
All right, and then the other items with respect to the Bartlett Mill and the Market Landing, I know I asked this kind of last year too. We haven't issued those bonds yet too, and so I guess Ethan makes an estimate of what he thinks the interest rate's going to be. You know, when we did it last year, obviously interest rates have gone up, quite a bit, over several hundred bips or basis points. So I'm assuming that this is not the same number we had last year. Ethan takes a look at it and says, well, maybe I think the interest rate's going to be more, and therefore our annual payments, assuming they use the same 10 or 20 years, 25, whatever he decides. And that's what this number reflects.
Yes, that's what it reflects, but also keep in mind, just in terms of our, when the money leaves the account, it doesn't leave the account until the bonds are issued, And B, the debt service commences, which sometimes is months later in terms of having to pay the first installment of interest and principal. So
Correct. Right.
it's for our, conservative budgeting purposes, it's good to put it in the category where we don't want to spend over that. This is something that we might have to spend. But to the extent that it hasn't gone out the door, it's not money that is going to immediately leave the account.
Correct. And eventually when it does leave, it could be over or under depending upon what the final bond coupon rates are.
Correct.
And also, as an example, again, just to understand the timing of this, if for some reason these bonds, let's just say market landing's delayed for whatever reason, and it's delayed for another year, we'll actually find that we'll actually have those amounts in our account to use for next year because we didn't have any bond obligations this year for those two projects.
That's correct.
Hypothetically.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Sorry, no more questions.
I'd like the minutes to show that Mark Rosen is in attendance now. And Mark, welcome to the meeting.
Hi.
Any other questions on the budget here? Oh, okay, good. Let's go back to the proposed presentation schedule and the list of the applications. We, excuse me. Anybody have any issues with these two dates? I know we tentatively set those dates last fall, and have just populated the 2 days with what looks like a reasonable docket for the night. I will note that although it appears a little imbalanced, that often isn't the case, since some of these applications can be presented very quickly. Also, we tentatively have two that may fall off the calendar. So any questions about the schedule? Okay. So it's good to keep these in mind when you're reading your applications, so that if you want the ones you're going to hear that night fresh in your mind, those are the ones you'll read first. Okay. What do we got next? In your packet, you have the various quarterly reports from ongoing projects that are also summarized within the Caitlin's staff report. Does anybody have any questions about either the quarterly reports from the projects or Caitlin's staff report? Okay. The packet also contains email communications from the Community Preservation Coalition, as well as their annual invoice for dues for our membership in the coalition. There are any questions about that communication, the invoice, or how we make use of the resources of the coalition in going about our business? Just remind everyone that you should get on their mailing list, and Caitlin can help you do that. And feel free to reach out to them as a resource for yourself if you have particular questions about individual projects or the act itself and what's obviously eligibility questions. Caitlin can also help in being a conduit for those questions to the coalition as well. I for one believe that we always get our money's worth from membership in the coalition. And in the years that we have received additional matches out of the state surplus, it's due largely to their efforts on the Hill. In addition to that, they maintain that good database for all the statewide projects that you can look at. And as can be seen from our packet tonight, provide us with good information on eligibility for particular questions that we have. So I would like to hear a motion to approve and pay the invoice for dues for the coming year.
Mike, this is Don. I'm happy to make that motion. So moved.
Second,
Okay.
I'll second.
any discussion? Okay, I'll take roll call. Mark Rosen.
Here.
Mark, do you vote yes on the
Oh,
invoice?
I apologize. Yes, of course, yes.
Don Walters,
Yes.
Chuck Griffin,
Yes.
Joe Morgan,
Yes.
Joe Texera,
Yes.
Jamie Gagnon,
Yes.
Jane Healy.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you. Okay, you've seen the minutes
May I
from,
ask that the members mute their mics? There's conversations in the background, please.
hold on a minute, I gotta fix something in the background. Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
that's good. Minutes from the meeting of way back when. October 20th.
We did that.
Was in the packet of material. I have a motion to approve, or if people haven't had a chance to read it, we can put it off to next meeting.
Mike, this is Don. I read it. I'm happy to make a motion.
We just
but if
approved it.
some of the members haven't read it, I'm happy not to make it, whatever the rest group thinks.
And I'll second that motion.
Is there anybody that would like to have this put off so they can get a chance to read the minutes? Okay, well then it's been moved and seconded. Excuse me. I'll take a roll call on approval of the minutes of October 20, 2022. Mark Rosen. Did we lose Mark? Don Walters,
I'm
Yes.
here and Mike, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was muted and I vote aye, yes.
Don Walters,
Yes.
Chuck Griffin,
Yes.
Joe Morgan,
Yes.
Joe Texera,
Yes.
Amy, you were not present then.
I'll
Jane Healy.
abstain.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you, Rachel.
I abstain from voting.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, I have no further updates. Jane, do you have any?
No, I have none.
Caitlin, are you aware of any from the planning office?
I have none, but I see Director Ports on the call if he has any.
No, I'm happy. Is there anything that you folks need from me or have questions about?
Okay, any other, do you know if there's any public comment out there?
You have one hand, Keith
Yes.
Eddings.
And I just unmuted them, and the name is Keith Eddings.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet with you guys, even remotely like this. Just a very quick update on a project that I've got going. Several of us are working on that. I'd like to keep you posted of. I'll keep this brief, but my city councilor, is it Zayed? Is that how his name's pronounced? Can you hear me?
Sharif, yeah.
He suggests we bring you into the loop about what's going on. Basically, make a long story short, I went to the dedication of the plaques for William Lloyd Garrison at Atkins Park last summer, and I expressed a concern to Andrea Eickerman that I thought the plaques might be moved to get them make them more visible. And she suggested I speak to Mike Hennessy, and Mike suggested I speak to Ted Beretti, I think his name is. A lot of this is new to me. The chair of the Parks Commission. And he had another suggestion to improve the visibility. He said, why don't we put a piece of artwork related to Garrison's life, a piece of artwork that somehow would express freedom and liberation in the middle of that grass lawn, which is feels kind of empty right now. And so that discussion that idea is in the works. And then when Councilor Preston, who you probably know lives on the park and has sort of made it her baby, she suggested also we might consider putting the mural on the back fence that would in some way, bring people into the park, have it in some way related to William Lloyd Garrison, whether a portrait or something else, and it thereby expose the visibility of the plaques and as Councilor Preston said, also give the park a little more jazz, because right now it's just an empty lawn. There's a lot of people that have been part of this discussion so far, besides Councilor Sharif and Preston. Kim Turner is also in the works here. Andrea Argument as we have an email loop or email chain that now includes these people. You might know Cabria Baumgartner. She's a Northeastern professor who's working on a similar project. Jack Santos, who heads the Friends of William Lloyd Garrison, and of course, Mike Hennessy and Ted Beretti. So we've been discussing all of this and what the next steps might be. The next step is going to be, I hope, an invitation to appear before the Parks Commission to get at least a tentative approval to go ahead and begin developing some aspects of this. But Sharif has also suggested that we give you a heads up so that you might consider this project going forward and maybe even include it in your budget. He thought it might be a way to get some funding for this project. I got to this meeting a little bit late. I teach skiing at Ski Bradford in the winter, and I had a 6:30 lesson, so 6 o'clock lesson. I got home from that as quick as I could. So I didn't see the discussion about the draft FY24 budget that you've got going. And it looks like you have a presentation schedule for FY24. And I'm wondering if we could get an invitation to make some kind of a presentation to you guys so that you can see what's happening and maybe support us.
Thank you. They're very interesting and exciting projects that you're thinking about. The way the committee has worked since its inception is we have a an annual cycle where applications for proposed projects, including the budget for the individual project, is they're presented by an annual due date. And then we have that docket, and we review with the applicants those projects, decide on them, and then make recommendations for appropriations to city council based upon that docket. So in the cycle of things, and you're doing your homework and your legwork correctly, because you would need the input from the various constituencies that you're talking to primarily the parks people, in putting together a proposal and having in advance their support for that proposal, putting an application to us, and then in the next cycle, we would talk about its eligibility and appropriateness for recommended funding in that cycle. And then it would go over to city council once it's recommended. So we do look forward to seeing an application from you in the future.
Well, would the application be timely for your 2024 budget?
Not this, but no, the due date for the applications for this year was last December 18th.
Okay, so we'd be a year behind in the funding, then there would be no funding from you guys if we were to receive it that could be available in less than a year.
That's correct.
Any way to
And
get
if,
a waiver?
if you applied next December, the funding would likely not come out of city council until the following summer.
Okay, is there any way to ask you to waive our deadline if we get something in ASAP?
Generally, we look at that in terms of whether there is
I'm sorry, you broke up.
I think Mike might have dropped off.
I'm back.
Oh,
He's
good.
back.
Yep, I'm back. If there is usually we get what we call off-cycle applications when they've got some emergency basis. In other words, for instance, if there was a historic resource that was at risk of being severely damaged or lost, and they needed some quicker turnaround funding in order to prevent that loss, we hear the application off cycle on an emergency basis. That's the way we've operated in the past.
Okay, I don't see that this is an emergency, obviously. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see that this is an emergency. You don't consider waivers for any other reason, I guess.
The committee could be asked to consider a waiver if you wanted to do that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
But you have to, excuse me,
I think we would need some more specific information and scope on your proposed project, and then in our one of our future meetings we could consider whether or not we wanted to create a prospect of a waiver from the cycle, keeping in mind that whether or not that's fair to applicants that have met the deadlines.
okay, well, I understand your process, and Councilor Zayed only recommended that you guys might be available for funding in an email to me a few days ago, and then very coincidentally, I went to your website so I could see what that process might be and saw this agenda for tonight. So that's why I'm a little late I may have missed your deadline, but in any case, I'll why don't I think the next thing we gotta do is talk to, get a meeting with the Parks Commissioner, and I'm hoping to get on their upcoming agenda. And we'll just take it from there. And I think if there's any hope that we could squeeze into your agenda for 2024, maybe we'll apply, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen.
Thank you for your interest and your interest in what sounds like a nice project.
Well, I appreciate that. I missed the introductions. I'm assuming you're the chairman?
That's correct.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Well, I appreciate the time you give me tonight, and we'll keep you posted at any rate, because this is a project that I hope is going to end up in something nice at a park that is now kind of empty and that has two really well done plaques commemorating Garrison, but they're a little bit buried in the park and they're not visible from the street, particularly in the summer. And there's a lot of good people already in the loop on this, and I'm hoping to get all the support we can, including with funding, and we'll see. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Caitlin, do we have any other public comment?
No, motion to adjourn.
No, I'm not seeing it this time, Chair.
Yeah.
Any other business from any other committee members? Hearing
So
none.
Mark Rosen and Charles and Chuck's hands
Okay.
raised.
There you are. Mark,
Just,
Yeah,
I was going to answer earlier.
lost Chuck, I think.
Chuck is attempting to talk and he doesn't have a good connection.
I see. Mark,
think
your
he-
hand.
All right.
No,
Let's see.
I was just going to tell that gentleman he needed to bring that.
Shall I proceed?
Yes, Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I have a question. There's a member of the committee who I don't believe has ever been to a meeting, and I'm wondering if he is still a member of that committee. I believe you can guess who I'm talking about.
Is that Tom O'Brien?
Yeah,
Tom is the representative from the Housing Authority. That's correct.
and is there any kind of rule about attendance to meetings for members in his category?
We do not have such a rule, no.
Well, I'm concerned that his organization isn't being properly represented to the committee.
I understand your concern.
And what would be the procedure to do something about it? Good question, huh?
Good question. How about
Caitlin and I can reach out to him and touch base with Tracy Maynard if that's helpful, just to, if that's the
Well,
concern.
Yeah, FYI, I don't believe he has ever been to one meeting. You can check the record on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's true. I've been to every meeting myself, and I don't recall him ever being at one single meeting.
Okay, well, Caitlin, you and I can follow up with them and circle back.
Yeah, if he's not interested in doing the work, then we should probably find somebody else.
Thanks, Mark. Anything else? Any other business from any committee members? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mark Rosen.
Okay. I'll second. I can take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, confirming, see you next time on February. Help me out here.
February 2nd.
7th.
Second,
Okay.
yeah.
Second, that's the second, 7 o'clock. And we'll be hearing from the applicants on the list. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mike.
Chair.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I hope you,
Thank you.
I hope you feel better, Mike. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for allowing me to watch the Bruins and the Celtics tonight.
Okay. See you.
Take care all.
Good night.
Good night.